Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Public Safety Network here. Figured I'd do a video from the road because I'm assuming you guys are probably getting tired of watching the same backdrop. So I'm doing armored truck frequently asked questions video. This is a video where I kind of talk about the questions that I get asked a lot, and also maybe some dispel myths or rumors about the industry that people have. Some that I didn't even know were an actual thing until I started browsing forums. So let's kind of dive into it. The first question I guess that get asked a lot is what is the pay? It depends on the company, but they're all relatively close to the same pay rate. When I started working, it was $12.80 an hour, which is pretty low in most people's eyes. However, with the amount of hours that you get, it actually comes out to a pretty decent amount of money. Because, like I said, some days you'll work as little as 6 hours, and someday you can work up to 14 hours, if not actually a little longer. So, like I said, I would work about 3 days, and some weeks I get close to a little over 40 hours, if not well over 40 hours. So like I said, the pay is not that great, guys. But like I said, you make it afford it in the amount of hours you can get done in the amount of days you actually work. The next question I guessed a lot is, what gun did I carry when I was an armored truck guard? And the answer is a Glock 17. I carried a Glock 17. There's just a standard factory one. There's no modifications. And I carried it in a Safariland 6280. And that is just the SLS system, self-locking mechanism with the rotating hood. And then I generally carried 2 extra magazines. The company required that you at least carried 1, but I always carried 2. And that's just more of like a weird symmetry thing with me. The next question I get asked a lot is, what's the most money I've ever seen in one time? And the answer is about $150 million. And that was from the Federal Reserve Bank. If you guys don't know what the Federal Reserve is, it's pretty much the bank for the U.S. government that's in charge of printing out money and putting it into circulation. So we actually made probably daily trips there, probably about twice. And so we would pick up and drop off large sums of money. So going there was actually pretty interesting. It was a big building that you would actually never know that anything was even there. It was just kind of like an empty warehouse. The next question I get asked a lot, which is a weird thing, that people have this misconception that armored truck guards don't get tickets or can't be touched by local cops. That was a weird one that I saw. And the answer is yes, they can. They pull us over. It doesn't happen all the time, but we tend to get it more from motor cops because, their whole job is writing tickets and working accident scenes. So, it's pretty... If anyone's going to give you a ticket, it's probably going to be them. So we get a lot. They tend to only give them to us a lot for major infractions, though, like blowing red lights, excessive speeding, or obviously accidents involving where the armored truck guard is at fault. So those are things they tend to give us tickets for. Most of them, actually, for the most part, kind of, they realize that we're on a time crunch, and so they tend to let us get away with a little more speeding than the average person. A lot of times, if we're going a little too fast, they'll pull up next to us, and kind of point at us and tell us, you need to knock it off. People, what are the hours like? Like I said, as I mentioned about the pay, you work quite a few hours. You can work as little as 6, and you can work as many as like 14. And like I said, some of you got even longer than that. So the hours, the first route would show up to kind of open up the building about 4 o'clock in the morning. And these are usually the ATMs. The ATM routes are pretty. There weren't that many of them. There were probably maybe 25, sometimes maybe more than that. But they would just take a while. So they would show up. They would leave about 4 a.m. And then we would have routes that would kind of stagger. Starting about 5 o'clock, they'd start staggering about every 15, 30 minutes. We'd have another one go out. And this was to kind of prevent everyone trying to leave at the same time, which, like I said, obviously when you're trying to get 20, 25 routes out, it can clog up where all the trucks are at. So so most of the actual guards that worked on the trucks, like I said, they could start as early as 4 a.m. and I think our last route went out about 7:30 or so. And then we'd have guys that would get back as early as 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and we have guys that sometimes wouldn't get back till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. It just depended on what area you're at, because I live in a major metro area, and so it can take quite a bit of time, especially if you have one of the further outskirt areas, because we were in charge of covering a lot of the towns in the middle of nowhere that maybe had like four, like had a grocery store and a bank maybe, and that was about it, or maybe had a casino. So those are kind of the hours. It just varied. And then we had people that worked in the vault, which I also did. And those guys, I think the first one came at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think most of them came at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So, like I said, if you're a vault guy, you tend to come in later, but you also tend to get off later. If I was the vault guy that had to make a run up to one of our other branches at night, I would probably sometimes wouldn't get back till like 2 or 3 in the morning. So that kind of sucked. So the next one is how many stops a day I would have. It just depended on the day. Sundays were pretty slow, so I may only have maybe 30, 35 stops, and so it would still take a little time because the stops are a little more separated out than during the normal week. But during the weekday, I've had as little as 50, 55 stops all the way up to over 100. It just depends on certain factors, especially if you get malls, because malls a lot of times you might have 10 or 12 stores all in the same shopping center, and so you have 10 or 12 stops in the same area. So so a lot of times that'll factor in, because I've seen routes that have like 3 or 4 malls, and so that eliminates like 50 stops right there. Next question I get a lot is about if we still use shotguns on the truck, and the answer is most companies don't. I believe Brinks is the only company I know that still uses shotguns on the truck. My company phased them out quite a long time ago. Kind of just insurance reasons, and they just really didn't see a necessity for them anymore. They just weren't practical, I guess you could say. So they kind of phased them out. They still had them. They kept them in like our armory, but they really just didn't know what to do with them. I know they considered selling them off to any guards that wanted to buy them for like usually a super cheap price, or they a lot of times maybe bulk sale them to a dealer as used. One other question I tend to get a lot is also, can you carry your own firearm? And again, it depends on the company. Most companies I've seen tend to prefer that their guards have their own firearms, just because, like I said, it's a cost-effective thing. Dropping, if you have, I think my branch had like 80 personnel that worked. Supplying all of those, even with Glocks at wholesale price, you're talking $350, $400 a head. So you're talking almost 100. What was it, 50 to 100 grand in guns, depending on how big of a branch you were. So a lot of it's cost effective, and then also getting the guns back when a lot of times the person leaves the company. That was also a big hassle I've seen with certain security departments that issue guns, and they have problems getting them back when the person leaves. So most guards carry, pretty much almost all the guards carried their own guns. There really wasn't a stipulation on what type of gun you could carry. They preferred to be from one of the more reputable dealers. So Glock, Smith & Wesson, Springfield, 6 Hour, all of those. We had guys that carried a variety of things. Most guys carried Glocks, Springfield XDs, or the Smith & Wesson M&P series. And then we had a few guys that would carry 6 Hours, not very many though. And then the only rule, and it wasn't necessarily a rule with the company, it was actually, I think, a rule with the licensing agency that is the licensing, is no 1911s. And the reason that is they don't allow single action. They don't allow single action handguns, and that also goes for revolvers. We had guys that would carry revolvers, and they had to be double action in order for them to qualify. But other than that, you can pretty much carry whatever you wanted. Generally, they only allowed 9, 40, and 45 rounds. We did have one guy that carried a 357 SIG, but I think he was the only one that carried a 357 SIG. Pretty much most people were either 9 or 45. There were very few guys that actually carried 40s. So usually it was one side or the other. I guess a lot about what the perks are for the job. There are quite a few perks, some that are kind of just built into working there, and other ones that kind of just happen based on your rapport with the people on your route. And one of them is free food. We used to get fed a lot on route by by business. A lot of the clients we had, they would a lot of times if you showed up on time or you showed up, within a reasonable amount of time and there was no issues, a lot of times they would feed you. They would comp you meals or give you heavily discounted meals, uh, which is really nice of them. They don't have to do that, but they do because they appreciate how much easier we make their business. Because obviously, having all of that one-year liability and taking it, sending one of your employees to the bank to do it, that has a huge risk of, not only losing that money but also injury to your employee. And so by letting us do it, we reduce a lot of that liability for them, and they're very appreciative of that. I've actually gotten free meals from uh, restaurants that weren't even our customers. We just happened to stop by and wanted something from there, and so they like, yeah, here's your meal for free, and it was pretty awesome. And I've seen guys also get discounted items for things that not necessarily they weren't food items, but a lot of those guys it's because they've been on the same route for a year or two. They kind of had developed a rapport with the client, so they tend to get a little more perks out of it than a guy that maybe just started working there. Um, and then some of them are built-in perks. Like the company I worked for is one is they would provide body armor for you. And I don't see many companies, security companies, but even armored truck companies that provide body armor. Most of them, at least in the armored truck world, would do a loan program. So they'd give you like 800, $900 to go out and buy your own vest, and then you just have to pay it back. With each check, you give them like 15, $20 until, or however much you wanted until the vest was paid off, and then effectively it was yours. So that is the only upside of that program is that once the vest is paid off, it's yours. It's yours to do with what you wish. My company would actually pull you into the office. They get all your measurements and they'd send them off to a manufacturer who made the vest custom built for you. So that was actually really nice because I see a lot of people, they have issues with body armor is that it doesn't fit them properly. And obviously, ill-fitting body armor can cause just as many problems sometimes as not having body armor. Um, so that was pretty nice of them. And then also the fact that they paid for us to shoot. So they set up an account with a couple of the local gun ranges, and they would pretty much say, a couple times a month you guys can go out and you can shoot. We'll pay for your range time, some ammo, targets, and I took heavy advantage of that. A lot of guys didn't, which I don't know why. We had guys that would complain that they weren't getting paid to go shoot as they're on their own time. So why would I do it? And I'm like, the company's paying for us to shoot. I mean, I don't know any security company that, for the most part, that does that, where they'll pay for their guards to go out and shoot and maintain, because shooting is a perishable skill. Because a lot of these guys, the only time that they would ever even fire their weapon was at yearly qualifications, which I'm like, that's not enough, especially in a situation where you're going to need it. And a lot of, like I said, because the gun wasn't fired for a whole year, you have no idea how it's functioning if you ever do need to use it. And so those are kind of a lot of the questions that I get. I know I really need to get into myths and rumors other than the one about the local municipality police. But, if this gets enough likes and subscribers and things like that, I'll probably do a part 2 because there's actually a lot more that I didn't touch on that a lot of people might find pretty interesting. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I'm always trying to put out new content. And obviously, if there's anyone in the audience that has any suggestions, I've worked most types of security, whether it's armored trucks, hospitals, housing projects. Obviously, I work for a public safety department right now. So I can talk about a lot of different topics. There's certain ones I don't because I just don't have the experience, but a lot of times I can probably find someone who does and answer a lot of those questions. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for my next video.